we're going to look at drawing the nose now. There's a couple of different ways you can do this. I'm just going to show you this one to start with. So as when we're drawing the eye, I really need you to draw with a very light pencil today. Okay, because a lot of these are going to be guidelines that we're going to rub out. So we're going to start with the tip of the nose, and the tip of the nose we're going to draw again exactly like we did with the eye, a very, very, very light circle. Okay, so that's your tip of your nose. Then what I want you to do, because this is going to be rubbed out, I want you to extend 2 lines up from the tip of the nose, and they're going slightly in, really lightly though, because we don't want any harsh lines, and then they're going to start to come out, okay, like that at the top. So that's how we're going to start. Now what I'd like you to do is do a horizontal line straight across the middle of the circle. Again, very lightly, these are going to be rubbed out, okay? And just outside the horizontal line, I want you to do a tiny little vertical line there and one there, okay? And then what we're going to do then is we're simply going to join up the bottom of this line to the bottom of the circle and the bottom of that line to the bottom of the circle, again with a really light line. So these are, we're creating guidelines at the moment. It's just like that. And then from the top of this line, we're going to go diagonally up towards these lines that we've taken up. So you can already start to see that we're creating a bit of a nose shape there, but all with very, very light lines. Now, if you go ahead and make very dark lines here, you're going to have a real problem when we come to actually shade the nose. So what we can do now is we're going to darken down the bottom of this. We're going to start forming the nose now. So we can take a darker line here. We're going to go up the side of the circle, and where we go onto this guideline here, we're going to curve it like that. Okay, and I want you to do the same on the other side. So we're going to go up and curve it over. All right, then we're simply going to follow these guidelines. So we're going to curve it round that one like that, and we're going to curve it round this one like that. Okay, and they're the only dark lines we're going to have. So now once we've got that, we can start to shade in here. This is your nostril, but you can't see the whole nostril, so we can't see a big circle unless you put your nose in the air, and you can see right up your nose. We're just going to see a little bit of darkness here, so we're going to bring that shadow like that, okay? And the same on this side, we're just going to bring a little bit, half a circle worth of nostril there, okay? Just like that. Now, with our rubber, we can now take out the guideline here, okay? And also just calm down these guidelines here, because we are going to use them to shade, but we don't really want too much of them there, okay? Now, with the shading, it's a really good idea to have a fairly blunt pencil. We don't want a really sharp pencil because we're going to get really heavy lines. The secret of really good shading is to build it up gradually. So I want you to very, very lightly start shading around this circle that you created. So we're going to shade under here, very, very lightly. We're going to build it up over time. We're going to come up these lines here. We're going to go round the circle here. And then we're going to go up this line here. It's very important that we don't have a hard line going up the nose, because if you look in the mirror, we really don't have a hard line going up our nose. So we want to do it with shading. So we're creating the nose now with our shading, okay? So again, I'm going around the circle, keeping it rounded, like this, really lightly. Then I'm going to go up this line here and blend that line in with my shading. So it's nice and light, the shading's nice and light, the guidelines are nice and light, and then we're going to go around here as well. So we're going to add a little bit of shading onto that nostril, like this, and a little bit onto here. Okay, we're going to carry on the shading here so that there's a lot of lightness here where we hit the bridge of the nose, and as we come down there's a little less, and then there's going to be a lot of light here. So we're going to just bring a bit more shading here, but slightly lighter. Okay, so we're getting a bit of an overall colour. Can you see that starting to take shape now? Okay, then we can start to be a little bit heavier in some areas. So we can start to bring in some slightly darker shading there, and the side, just there. And then also up here, which is where our eyes are going to go eventually. So we can go a little bit heavier there. And then we can bring a little bit of shading under here. You can see how I'm gradually building it up now. And I can start to push a little bit harder in some areas. Now, underneath the nose, where the nose starts to meet the mouth, down here, there's a little bit of a ridge. So you can have a little look in the mirror. So we have a little bit of a shadow. And we have this sort of slight ridge just above our lips. Like that. So everything I'm doing is very gentle. I'm not drawing any like lines, you know, there's no like, oh, here's this line really heavy. Everything I'm doing, can you see how I'm moving my pencil and I'm just shading with tiny little strokes, sometimes round in circles, just because you get a better quality of shading really. So there's no harsh outlines. And again, a bit like drawing the eye, could go on for ages with this. So you've got to decide how far you want to take your drawing. Okay. Now, we can then move down to the lips. And the lips, the top lip is bigger than the bottom lip. So we'll start with the midline. And the midline here is going to come slightly up, then down, slightly up again, and down. So we've got a line, but it's slightly wiggly. So just up and down, and that's almost straight. Okay. Now the top lip is smaller, than the bottom lip, and it's a different shape as well. So we're going to start at the corner of the mouth. We're going to come up, then we're going to slightly dip down in the middle here. Okay, where you've got this ridge in the top just above the lip, and then we're going to go back down again and meet that midline. So they're always going to meet here. So we've gone up, we've gone down, we've gone up and down again. And that's the shape of the top lip. Now the bottom lip does something slightly different, and it's bigger. So the bottom lip starts here on the edge again, which is just coming down, and then it's slightly curving, and then it's coming back up to meet the top line. Okay, so it's just coming down, curving here, and then back up to meet that midline there. Okay. Now if you look at your lips in the mirror, you'll notice where they meet here in the midline, it's quite dark. Okay, you get a bit of a shadow. And you'll notice because your bottom lip is slightly bigger, it catches more light. So it's often lighter than the top lip. So again, like we did with the eyes, we can use the pencil to flick upwards from that midline, because there's lots of tiny little creases on your lips. And while we don't want the lips to look like they're stripy, we do want to see a little bit of detail on them. So coming from that midline, you want to create quite a lot of shading on that top lip because it's the darker lip. But the shading, you want to keep it darker towards the middle, here, and catch a little bit of light on the top. So I'm bringing those little lines up like that. Now on the bottom lip, we're going to come down from that midline, but I'm going to do it much, much lighter. Can you see that? So much, much lighter. Okay, but still with some of that detail. And you can keep darkening that midline as much as you like there. Okay, and then your drawing should start to come together. So we've got the nose leading into the mouth. Like that. Okay, so we're going to bring that up like that, and as I said, we can keep going, keep going, keep going. Underneath the lip, you can form the lip, bottom lip, by adding a little bit of shadow. So if you look in the mirror, you'll be able to see there's a little dip underneath that bottom lip. So you can actually create the lips with more shading, and we haven't got any big outlines here, if you can notice that. So I've got no big outlines of the lips, so I've created them with shading, a bit like in the videos that I first showed you with the shading. And remember, we shaded the cylinder, we shaded the tin, and we created the outside of the tin by doing shading in the background. It's exactly the same thing. So no big harsh outlines, we sort of create them with the shading. And we can go on and on. I'm going to stop now so that you can have a go. Go and have a look in the mirror, or just follow what I'm doing here. Sometimes it confuses you when you're learning to look in the mirror and copy what you see. So sometimes it's nice to just follow what I'm doing first. And then once you've practiced a few times, you can start to draw different people with different noses and different mouths.